But actually through this rhythmic movement, we're able to release any trauma, any niggles, any tension in the body so that we can free ourselves from these limiting beliefs or these blocks that may be holding us back from stepping into the best versions of ourselves. From a technological standpoint, just being online and being seen a lot. Whereas when I'm out in nature, I'm like, what is that for? Does it even mean anything? I want to do in-person things that are really heart-based.
Hey, welcome back to Soul Awakenings with Madiha Sosan podcast. Today we have Amy Proudfoot.
Hi, I'm Amy Proudfoot. I'm a keynote speaker, breathwork facilitator, dancer, singer-songwriter, and I host women empowerment events over in the UK. Wild Woman is a space for women to come together, feel supported, dance, heal, emote, be wild, unleash their unapologetic expression in the presence of other wild women. That is me.
Hi, Amy. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. We've never actually met. What we have at the residence center, we had New Year's Eve party, and that was the first time I met you. But I've been following you on Instagram before then.
Yeah, I feel like I met you fully energetically at that point. I think I was bouncing around.
Yeah, I was bouncing around, so we were both bouncing around together. It was great. I love your energy. I've been trying to get you on the podcast for since last year, I think. I messaged you and because I saw you on one of the podcasts, and I was like, yeah, I need to get this woman on because there's a lot more to this woman, and I wanna explore that. So I know who you are, briefly.
Yes.
Our listeners don't know who you are. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I think I have 3 versions of myself up to this point, and it's just due to many life scenarios that have happened and caused me to have little mini deaths and rebirths where I've blossomed into something completely radical and new and incomprehensible, I would say, to the people that knew me before. It's like I've got to this point now where I feel like spiritually, I'm at a point where I'm kind of just, intuitively feeling into what my energy wants to express, and then I just express it very creatively, and it's just down to a recent Kundalini awakening that I've had. And I guess before I get to that point, because it's like, Kunda, what? I'm going to literally go right back to the beginning and talk about who I started off as and what led me up to this point of spirituality. Because I feel like then you'll get an idea of really who I am, you know?
Mm. So what is it that you do before we get into that? What is it that you do now?
Well, it's kind of weird because I used to really take pride in, delivering breathwork sessions as a breathwork coach. And I was a community leader of Sober Social. But from my recent spiritual awakenings and understandings of my creative expression, I've now begun to sing and write songs and go back to dancing, which is something that I used to enjoy, love as a child. I danced from the age of 4 and I danced ballet. And it was my passion up until I hit my GCSEs and I discovered boys. And then all of a sudden, I just forgot about it until recently when I used dance as a form of healing. I come to, we've been to ecstatic dance together, but ecstatic dance as a free form of dance allows you to emote and express yourself in whichever way you want, whatever your body wants to do, let it do to the music. But actually through this rhythmic movement, we're able to release any trauma, any niggles, any tension in the body so that we can free ourselves from these limiting beliefs or these blocks that may be holding us back from stepping into the best versions of ourselves. And that's how I kind of merged together my healing and also my passion for dance as a young girl. And through that, I was like, wow, this is something really special. This is like a passion and you know, a form of healing for me in the same time, where I'm peeling back these layers of social conditioning that have kept me kind of in this box or this idea of who I should be in order to fit into society, you know, or to fit into what people want me to be. And I've got to a point now where I'm like, no, I just want to express myself in any way that I feel is given to me and filling my cup, but also giving back at the same time. So at the moment, I am a singer and a dancer. Next week, I don't know. That is the real me. But at the moment, something really exciting is brewing up. So I am creating an ecstatic dance, which is out in nature. Do I drop the name of it? No, I don't. We'll find out. I'm gonna give you a couple of words like mountains,
mountains,
authentic self-expression.
Beautiful.
That has a few more words.
Love it.
That's it. That's it. But it's going to be absolutely incredible. And it's more than an ecstatic dance. It's really connecting out in nature and honing into who it is that you are. Because I feel like I get two different versions of myself, actually. Generally, and it's when I'm in the city, I feel very vibrant, very here, there, and everywhere. You know, I'm wanting to be seen, and I'm grasping at the shiny things. When I get into nature and I tune into my body and I sit and I breathe, I'm like, who's that? Like, why is she wanting to be seen? Why is she wanting to, react so much to the world and follow suit and do what everybody else is doing, when actually inside you're this completely different person, actually a little bit introverted, wanting to spend time doing more wholesome things as opposed to following the algorithms of Instagram and posting all the time and I don't know if I'm making sense here, but just how we've, I guess, from a technological standpoint, just being online and being seen a lot. Whereas when I'm out in nature, I'm like, what is that for? Does it even mean anything? I want to do in-person things that are really heart-based. Yeah. Don't know what that is, but I feel the ecstatic dance in nature is the beginning of that. And actually over the last year, I've really found comfort in the discomfort of being in nature in solitude and taken myself out voluntarily and just sat in meditation for hours and just shut myself off from the world to try and understand who it is that I am without my labels and identity. And actually, I just want peace and love. Am I going to find that in the city without sounding real hippie, like I just want peace and love, dude. But actually, am I going to find that in the city, or am I going to find it doing something a little bit more authentic and something that transmutes through me naturally, which is why I've gone into singing and which is why I'm now going down this path. That was a very long-winded explanation, but I'm sure you...
I mean, it's perfect because I kind of really like that you have a very open mind of where a lot of people have it set. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this, and I'm going to be that, right? Yeah. But I like the fact that you're very open to anything. Next week, you could be doing completely different, which is great. Because that's what the flow is. Flow isn't rigid, that this is who I am and that's how I'm going to be. Flow is actually different directions, different things come at you, and that's where the flow state is.
And life is cyclical, right? Just like the seasons. And that's why I love spending time out in nature, because it's forever changing. And I've actually found more flow in my life through spending time in nature, just observing, noticing the river and how it can change direction. You know, just being. When I spent more time being present, I'm more able to allow change to happen without the reaction. And then taking a step back, taking a breath, and then responding. It's like, actually, maybe I do want to do some singing. Let's see what happens with that. Let's see what sensations kick up in the body. And actually, I get a lot of joy from singing. So I'm going to do that for a while.
Beautiful. I love it. So you talked about your past. So you are here, but what were you doing before? So let's take you back to your childhood. What was your childhood like?
My childhood was, do you know what, really, really nourishing on one side. So to the external world, my mum was completely selfless, like really doting. If I was to describe my mum in one way, I like to say she's like, the John Lewis of the mum world. She's just like, when you go to a house, she's got fresh baking. Literally, you can smell it as you're walking down the drive, already like cooking up. She will ask you if you want a drink like 10 times before you sit down. You know, she's like really, really doting, really understanding, and she's incredible. And she actually sacrificed quite a lot throughout her life to give me and my brother a great chance, at being good humans. You know, she was very particular about how we presented ourselves to the world. And I feel like a lot of my spirituality actually stemmed from my childhood because, my mum said, never talk about anyone behind their back, never be mean for no reason, always say your P's and Q's, and just be kind. So that in itself was a detriment to me as a child because I was then bullied severely because of it. Because I didn't, gang up with the other kids to pick on anybody else. I was like, well, that's mean. Why are you saying that to that person? And in a response to that, I would then get attacked. So, but it made me the person that I am today. So my childhood, generally with my mum, very nurturing, very supporting. My dad, I always ask myself the question, like, do I talk about it? Is it respectful to the family? I think, he did the best that he could. That's what I'm getting through. But generally speaking, I had a very good childhood. I did.
Yeah. Amazing. Like, my mom's my mom's disabled now, so I've been looking after her. But before then, she's been very much exactly like she will like ask you 10, 15 times, do you want a drink? Do you want a really nice, humbling energy to my mom as well. Yeah. And I think also that kind of goes down in people. I'm not saying it's your mom or my mom. It's like in general, that can be a people pleasing dynamic, that you're trying to please or be overly nice to somebody just so to feel accepted in society. And then because my mom's like that, I became like that. But then I found that as my journey throughout life is like a lot of people took advantage because I was so giving with a big heart.
Yeah. And it's, I feel like in the spiritual community, a lot of the time we're always encouraged to be in our heart space. How can we maintain the potency of that in a world that's so reactive and head-based and patriarchal generally? And I find that a real challenge, especially as an entrepreneur, wanting to gain material wealth, but at the same time wanting to become a heart-led leader. That's the challenge that I found when I was hosting conscious events, which is why I took a little bit of a step back to recalibrate. Is that how you recalibrate? You know what I mean? So just going back to being heart-based, I've always been in my heart from a child, and I really have a lot of respect for my mum for, I would even say, ingraining it into our subconscious, like she really embedded it in. So childhood, dad wasn't really there a lot, mum was. I throughout my 20s was very chaotic. Like, I was very chaotic. I think it stemmed from, through years and years of therapy, actually in my 30s, not feeling enough. And in order to feel enough, it's very baseline, that comment, right? But it goes a lot deeper than that. But yeah, in order to feel enough, I drank heavily. I was very, very focused on aesthetics, to the point where I had a nose job. I blew my lips up to the size of two blimps. I had lots of heavy aesthetics. I'd constantly be going from one relationship, dating wise, to the next. I was taking drugs. I was doing a lot. And my ex-boyfriend that I was with for 4.5 years, he was a nightclub promoter. So as you can imagine, my life was very, very heavily invested in, that kind of scene, addiction to alcohol. And I guess as well, the dynamic that we had as a relationship, we were just mates. We were pretty much just mates. But just drinking a lot. And we travelled for a while together as well. Actually, there's a little bit of a story behind that particular relationship. And we went to Australia together. In fact, I'm going to come back to that story because I feel like it might be relevant a little bit later. I know we're probably building up to me talking about my nervous breakdown that happened when I was 30, and that played a huge part in that. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later because it will be of more relevance. But yeah, throughout my 20s, I was just basically drinking with dad, partying and not doing a great deal else. I didn't really have a focus. I'd kind of just be constantly waiting until Friday so that I could get absolutely plastered. And I would do back-to-back Friday and Saturday nights. I would run club nights, and that would be my existence. And I think the highlight of my week was, Friday's highlight of my day was what am I having for lunch. That was my existence, and that's okay. And that's some people's existence, and there's no judgment with that. But reflecting on who I was and then who I am now, it's such a big gap. And I guess as well, if anyone does feel like they're having that existence, they're living that reality, and then they maybe want to steer in a different direction. If they're thinking maybe there's something else out there, then I only stopped that loop when I was 30. So there's never a time. There's never a time. There's always opportunities to change the way that you work in day-to-day life.
Why do you think you were drinking so heavily?
Yeah, so I drank to block out the pain of, I guess, not feeling enough within societal's expectations of what that looked like. A lot of the girls, I compared myself to them through who I used to, I'm trying to articulate here. So a lot of the girls that I used to associate myself with within high school, they'd all settled down. They got, they did the standard, get a job, find a boyfriend, get engaged, get the dog, get the house, have the kids. And I'd not even, I was like moving around. I was drinking a lot, to them, I guess, maybe I looked extremely lost and chaotic. So in order to block it out, I was like, I'm just going to drink more. My dad wasn't around when I was younger, so I guess as well that pain was residing underneath the surface and I was blocking that down. But also I think I hadn't actually discovered any of my talents, or if I did, I'd kind of bypass them and not really understand what to do with them. I didn't have really any guidance, and I felt like the only guidance I had were from, these standard services that, where, you do a personality test and it's like, you should be X, Y, Z. And it's like, well, do I want to go down the conventional route of doing that? It doesn't really feel right. There was something inside me that knew I was unconventional or a little bit rebellious. And every time I got offered help, I kind of resisted it because it just didn't feel natural to me. And now I live more in this flow state where I'm living life through the synchronicities, right? I'm living life through synchronicities. I'm living life through, my intuition, and this feels more natural to me. And that's what I've been missing. I think my spirituality was just literally suppressed. And once I discovered it, then I discovered the magic of life.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautiful, because a lot of people that I interview, they've gone through the drinks and drugs and then they had that spiritual awakening, and then they found themselves and they're completely the opposite. And all of them, including myself, well, I never drank, but when I was going through my extreme anxiety, so I was like 10 years, I didn't leave the house. I would have panic attacks even if I would go to my garden. I used to have community befrienders come take me out, and that was 10 years. And what I was doing, again, going back to the pain, numbing that pain or whatever it is, I used to just binge watch TV shows. I used to play games from morning till night. And that was because the pain was too much. I was caring for my mom. My dad recently, he passed away when I was 13. So it was that pain. Rather than going out, because I couldn't go out because of my anxiety. In a way, my anxiety saved me from self-destruction outside of drinking and drugs. Yeah. But then again, I was self-destructing in a way where my life was completely out. I couldn't leave the house, whereas I'm sitting in front of the gaming and I'm gaming and gaming and gaming. Wow. It's going back to that, the numbness, like the pain that you feel. You don't know how to process. Our system, our schooling system, our parents, sometimes they don't know how to emotionally regulate their own emotions.
Yeah, and they've never had that parenting themselves.
Yeah, so then
maybe.
we take that on. Then we don't know how to emotionally regulate ourselves. Then we look for distractions, numbing the pain, and we don't know how to process these big traumas.
Yeah, it's so true. And I actually resonate a lot with what you said when you were talking about having panic attacks and not being able to leave the house. I definitely experienced something very similar. And at the time I was told it was a nervous breakdown, but actually it was a spiritual awakening. I just wasn't prepared spiritually for it. And I tried to numb it out by drinking more alcohol. So this happened when I was 30. Mm-hmm. And I was living in Australia at the time. Actually, a year previous to this, I found an ex in bed with somebody else red-handed, which I think was the start of it. And it was a little bit painful, so I blocked it all out with alcohol, but even more so, it was getting to the point where I was drinking all the time, maybe 4 times a week, and to the point of blackout. And I remember very vividly, one week, I was like, I don't know why, I just don't feel like drinking, which is something that, and Amy Fralvert would never say that, and everyone thought it was really bizarre. I was like, I just don't feel like drinking. I felt a little bit odd and off. I was like, I just want to do something nice, like go to the beach. So that's what we decided to do. And I remember actually getting to the beach and feeling like really drained and really hungry. Then all of a sudden this massive panic attack came on, and I didn't know what was happening to my body. I thought I was having a heart attack. And I said, I just need to sit down. I need to do something. And anyway, my body was stuck in flight mode, so it wouldn't stop. And I just kept having it. Like no amount of breathing or friends coming to my aid would stop it. So we called the ambulance, and I was in Australia at the time, and this guy came to me and he said, "Oh, you got agoraphobia." So that stuck with me then. I was like, wow, Googling agoraphobia, you know, finding out what it was. And it was fear of being in social situations or fear of being around people. I thought, well, that's definitely not the case. I just think this is a blip. So I got back to the apartment and I slept on it. I woke up the next morning and I was like, I feel good. You know, that was pretty weird what happened yesterday, but I feel pretty good. Got my stuff on, went to go downstairs to go to work. Bam, again, it happened. And I was like, I don't know what is happening in my body, but I'm in Australia on the other side of the world. All my family are over in England. I kind of have, I would say, friends here, but generally I've just been drinking the whole time. I've not been very conscious. Wow. And I don't know what to do. I need love. I need care. I don't think I knew that's what I needed at the time, but I was just scared. So what I did was I took sleeping tablets to completely annihilate any pain and I felt really out of it to be able to leave the house. I went to my friend's. I stayed on his couch for like 7 days whilst I mustered the courage up to leave the house. I just remember going step by step down the stairs, and as soon as I got to the front door, it happened again. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have to stay inside. But I'm in Australia. I need to earn some money, you know. I need to be able to live. So I just walked around without any contact lenses up and dosed up on sleeping tablets until my flight home, which was, I can't even really remember it, to be honest. I can't really remember it. I was just out of it completely. And I remember thinking on the plane home, I know what it is. It's because I miss my family. As soon as I see my mum, I'm going to be fine. And I was just like, on the plane home, I'm healed, I'm good. I already started to feel a little bit better. And as soon as I got home, I actually went to surprise my mum at her house, and she pulled up in the car, and I remember for the first time I was going to see her in 2.5 years. I was so excited. And she stepped out of the car and bam. To have that sensation of seeing your own mother for the first time in 2.5 years, you know, generally the natural response would be joy, tears. You know, someone like my mum who's salt of the earth, it was really difficult because I didn't want her to notice my weird energy as well. And you know, I had to pretend to be happy, but inside my heart was just like this. So it was honestly pretty tough. However, I had to, you know, get her to understand what was happening. And from that point, I was able to regulate in a way. I did a lot of research into meditation. I started my mornings with the breath. Nutrition-wise, I was having green smoothies every day. I was going for runs. I was kind of getting into yoga as well. And these symptoms kind of subsided slightly to the point where, you know, I could leave the house, but I felt very, very panicky. You know, going to the shop to get some milk, out of the question. Driving a car, not a chance.
Yeah, I was like that as well. I couldn't even go to the shops at all, not even to a garden. It was like that fear is just set in you. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, as soon as I step outside the house, and it was like the rush of anxiety, and I would have a full-blown panic attack. And yeah, completely get it. And you feel like if you're having 2-3 panic attacks a day, you feel like you're having 2-3 heart attacks a day as well.
Yeah, and it's exhausting, right?
Yeah.
It's exhausting when you have to literally rest. But I even felt like panicky about resting because I was too calm. Yeah. It's like there's nothing you can do to control it other than, I mean, the only way that I found how to control it was to just surrender, to literally just let it take over my body. Yeah. And just let it be there. But yeah, it was tricky. And my symptoms did worsen slightly. And actually, I wanted to mention that at the beginning of my life, from the age of 20 to the age of 30, I worked in corporate and I was in cutthroat sales. I was very much work hard, play hard. And to go from that sort of fast-paced existence to then becoming trapped in the house and scared of my own shadow, it was pretty tough. I just really wanted to get better, you know, and I was at that point trying anything to subside whatever was going on in the body. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to take some time out and get in the sun because the sun is pretty healing. And I went and stayed with a family member who at the time I thought was okay to stay with. And I remember at the time going over, I felt obviously all these sensations in the body, but I thought as soon as I get there, I'll be cool, I'll be fine. The person that I stayed with, they actually had an alcohol problem. So my symptoms, even trying to get the words out now, the body still remembers, the symptoms actually worsened and I experienced disassociation from the body completely and PTSD. Mm-hmm. But actually through that process, because I was there, I was trapped in a way because my flight wasn't back home for 10 days. I had my spiritual awakening where my body just, I can't even explain how crazy it was. But I was doing a lot of meditation and all of a sudden I felt my spine just, fall away from my body, and then all of this tingling on my head, and like it was almost like all these butterflies were flying out of my head, and I felt completely out of it. And I went to go outside and I was in this bliss state where everything was crystal clear, like I'd just stepped into Narnia. Mm-hmm. Or something like that. Like a butterfly landed on my hand, right? This is for sure what happened. And it's like I could see the wings in slow motion. Like I still haven't really looked into what happened. I feel like it is a spiritual awakening. But yeah, that occurred. And that was within 4 months of me having my breakdown. Mm. Yeah. So from that point, I couldn't relate to the rest of the world. I still felt pretty panicky, but what I did was I came back to the UK. I then kind of healed, but felt pretty weird. And I just, again, subsided it all with alcohol. I was like, there's got to be a way out of this. I can't just keep existing in this reality and something is going on and I don't know what it is in my body and I have to try and figure it out. So I read a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. Have you read that book?
I've heard about it, but I haven't read it.
Oh, she's incredible, Susan. She talks about the importance of exposure therapy and how doing the one thing that you're scared of the most in this world. So for me, it would be probably solo traveling and, you know, just going out into the abyss with no plan would cure the feeling of trauma in the body. And that's what I did. So I booked a one-way ticket to Italy. I had no plan, but I was desperate. And I just wanted to heal myself. And I didn't care whether I lived or died. I literally didn't care because I didn't want to go through what I was going through any longer. So I got on the plane. I felt like I had a gun to my head 99% of the time, pretty much. And as soon as I got on there, I was like, wine, I need a wine, I need a wine, I need a wine. And literally I was just drinking until I got to my first destination, which was the Tuscan Alps. Before I went there, I pre-arranged with a family to renovate their 400-year-old Tuscan villa in exchange for accommodation and food. So the first night that I was there was actually quite funny, if I look back at it now, because the language barrier was very apparent. This family, they wanted me to teach them how to speak English. It was a little bit of understanding there, but not a lot. And I remember being on this mountain with this family and I felt pretty on edge anyway, but because I was indoors in a house and in nature, and I was like, you know, I've seen the reviews on workaway.com. Like I knew, even though my brain was in catch up, that I was kind of okay. I felt quite awkward. And they said, right, you start work tomorrow and we show you your job. And I was like, okay. And this was at 10 at night. So they stood up, they didn't say anything or explain anything, you know, the language barrier. and we walked outside. And we walked through this like outdoor tunnel into the back of the garden. It was pitch black dark in the middle of nowhere in this village of, they had a population of about 50 people. So at this point I was like, what is going on? We're in the garden, it's pitch black dark. No one's saying anything. And then he got this spade, and he started digging a hole. And I was like, this is exactly what I manifested. I didn't care if I lived or died now. I'm going to go in the earth. And I was like, great. But anyway, no, my task was to dig a vegetable patch.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I found out the next day as I was asleep in bed. I'm just, wow, I don't know what's going on. But yeah. That lasted 3 months, but actually this family completely changed my life. I had no idea what I was stepping into, but they lived very holistically and they helped me slowly self-heal and understand the importance of holistic practices like yoga and breathwork and, you know, eating beautiful, nutritious food that's nourishing for the system and true human connection and unconditional love. Like all of these things are super important for my healing process. And actually, when I finished my time there, I felt a lot better. And I decided to continue my journey alone. And I went over to Rimini. I met this awesome guy called Phil, who was an influencer, and he was traveling around with Matador Network, who are the #1 travel network in the world. And actually one of my intentions as the frightened girl indoors was that one day I'd be able to become a travel blogger. And I met this guy and they said, hey, we love your story. Do you want to be in the film? And I was like, cool. So I traveled around with them for a while, which was amazing. Even though I did feel a little on edge, I was living my dream and I gave back to that girl that was, you know, that never thought she'd amount to anything. Came back to the UK, started working back in corporate. But this time, because I'd raised my awareness and my consciousness, I noticed these little cracks of where people seemed a little stressed and, you know, maybe, things weren't happening. Life was very different. Life was just very different and I couldn't integrate back into society again.
It's hard to integrate back into the matrix when you wake up. Like what your awakening was around 30, right? So they talk about your Saturn return from between 27 and 30. So that's when a lot of stuff kind of goes out of your life. And then you go through awakening, whatever it is. Some people lose friends, family, they lose themselves. And then begins the process of how do we integrate that new energy in, and going back to that same place. It's hard to do. It's hard to for you. It's going back to your work. It's hard to do.
Yeah, especially as well as humans, I feel all we want to feel is understood. So, you know, post-spiritual awakening, I was understood by the people that I was relating to with the drinking and like my family who've grown up with me my whole life. But post-spiritual awakening, I was a completely different person. So showing up as that person to my family and my friends made them feel fearful they were losing me because I was someone completely different, because they wanted to be understood. So there's this weird dynamic, you know.
Hey there, healers, wellness warriors, and holistic fans. Exciting news. We've just teamed up with Listening to Smile, a company all about healing through music. Imagine listening to music that doesn't just sound good, but actually makes you feel better. Now, here's the deal. Just listening to that music for 20 minutes a day could make a huge difference to your mind, body, and soul. And guess what? You get 20% off their awesome albums with the code Soul Awakenings. But wait, there's more. Want to improve your practice, earn more, and keep your work safe? Then this program is for you. It's all about opening up new possibilities and protecting what you create. So, are you ready to get started? Head over to their website, www.listeningtosmile.com, and let's begin your journey to feeling great. Don't forget to use the code Soul Awakenings to save 20% at checkout. All of these links and the code will be added to the description below. Let's awaken those souls together. What was your dynamics like after your spiritual awakening? Are you still friends with them, or they've fallen out of your life?
Oh yeah, I mean, everyone that I was associated with, they're way in the distance. I have developed new friendships since, done a lot of traveling, and just through development, I guess, of awakening more and more, I've kind of met new people in the process, and I think that's just life, really.
That's part of the awakening.
Yeah,
it's like each stage is like, okay, you're going. So tell me, we talked a bit about your relationship, and you talked about, being in a narcissistically abusive relationship.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about that? What was the process there?
So the relationship itself, I always wonder, like, do I name the relationship? But it was a close relationship, and they, as a joke, very just lightheartedly would say, "Oh, don't be so stupid," or they would say, "Oh, you look fat in that." And these little passing comments were the norm for me. However, over time, chipping away at the self-confidence, they ingrained and embedded so deeply that when I had my spiritual awakening, they were the narratives that were looping around and around and around in my head. Every time I went to do something that would require intellect, you're stupid. Every time I would put on a dress, you're fat. And that would be the voice in my head every single time, even though I was very slight and I knew I wasn't fat. I just felt completely hopeless as a woman, like I didn't have any place in the world. And I tried to explain it to people. And because aesthetically in the past I have modeled, people would say to me, "Oh, don't be silly, you're beautiful, and you are." And it's like, well, I don't feel it, I don't feel it, and I wish I did. But I don't know how to cure that. And that's when I started to look into the power of affirmations. I am. It's a very powerful one. So I wrote down all of the things that I used to say about myself because of this narcissistic abuse. I am fat, I'm stupid, I can't, and actually just cross them out and replace them with the complete opposite statement, I'm intelligent, I'm empowering, I'm whatever.
I think that's really important, because I was in a emotionally abusive relationship as well, 1.5 years, and broke up about 1 year ago. And it's the same thing. You're too sensitive, you cry a lot, or you're too emotional. You're the same thing, why you're so dramatic, why is this, why is that? It's like chipping again. First 6 months are great. 6 to 7 months is great, and then it starts to get down in the nitty gritty. The mask fall off, and then all these little things started to kick in with I'm still right now. I'm still building that self-esteem back up. But yeah, this is what the point I wanted to come across, and what I talk about it now, is that a lot of people talk about physical abuse, but emotional abuse is also a deep cut.
Yeah.
It's deeper than you think it is, because it's what you are going, like you said, you thought you were ugly, you thought you're stupid, you're this, you're that, and you're carrying that belief around, and you're attracting more of that.
100%. And the thing is, your brain doesn't really, because our brains are just computers and they process data. They don't know the difference between right, wrong, true, false. They'll just process it and they'll embed it in the subconscious. So whatever you tell it believes to be true. and watered enough, it will manifest into our outer reality, right? So I'm just very conscious of that. And actually, I'd like to share something that I've never shared before with anybody on a podcast or really in a public interaction of any kind. And actually, it's very relevant to the work that I'm doing now, because I'm really wanting to step into more of, I guess, a leadership position of well, maybe just looking into women empowerment events. I think that's what I'm trying to say here, because just based on what I've been through. And I actually suffered physical abuse when I was in a past relationship. And I feel like when you're in that type of dynamic, you almost feel that for me, the people pleasing came in because I didn't want to upset my abuser. But then my perpetrator became the cure, because they then wanted to make me feel better after what they did, because they experienced the guilt. So you're just stuck in this loop. And actually that relationship lasted for 4.5 years. So it was pretty intense.
So it's more of a fawning. Have you heard of fawning?
Fawning, yeah. Fawning.
Yeah. I interviewed this amazing woman, Annalie Howling, and I did not know about it either. I didn't know. I knew like freeze, flight, fight. But fawning is another trauma response, and she was basically explaining what it was, and I was like, oh my God, not just an abusive relationship, it went all the way back to my childhood. I was a people pleaser, always saying yes. I mean, it comes with a caretaker role, looking after my mom for 20 years, and it's been the yes, and then when I got into a relationship, the form of abuse that was coming at me, I was like, people pleasing the person. And exactly the same thing. It's like, I've done you wrong, but then I'll apologize, I'll give you love bomb you again, and then it's back to the same cycle. And it's really hard once you're in that.
And how did you overcome that yourself personally, or even get to the point where you thought, potentially I'm seeing progress?
Well, I did a lot of internal family system, IFS therapy. So I've been doing that before I got into the relationship. And then after, when the relationship broke off, it was the first couple of months where it was really, really weird. Like you're in a stage where you love the person, but you know they did you wrong. And then all of the insights started to come in where, oh my God, like all these articles and videos start popping. Narcissistic abuse, and this is emotional, blackmails and everything. So I started doing my research, and then doing the research actually helped me see that it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It was just, and then I went into the IFS session, and one of I'm not going to talk about what happened, but it was quite aggressive. The breakup was quite aggressive. And I went in the IFS session, and my part took me back to a trauma response. When I was 5, I was physically abused by a teacher. So every day she would get me in front of the class and hit me. And that's my 5-year-old, and I'm trying to explain to my mom that this is happening. I don't want to go to school. But my mom's brushed it aside, and she was getting mad at me. You're the naughty one, right? And that thing that happened with my ex, it was a similar situation that happened with my mom and the teacher. So I found out that the trauma goes back. That's why I was attracting this kind of person, because I haven't healed that trauma. Then I started working on it. Over the last 7-8 months, I've been working on it, and I'm in a completely different space to where I was, because that trauma leaves your body. It's once you process it, once you process the emotions, once you become aware to it and relive it in a different perspective and see it in a different perspective, it moves your body, and I'm in a completely different space. So I think therapy, especially internal family system, is such a strong therapy. Really, really, it processes your trauma there and then you use the elements to integrate whatever, or process whatever you've been through.
Maybe I've done that. I don't know. But I do have a therapist, and she's incredible. And it's crazy how I can also get, still to this day, merged into the people pleasing again, and actually underneath the surface I have all of this built up stuff that needs to be released. But thank you for sharing that as well.
Oh, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
One of so my friend who does the IFS therapist, like, she's called Natasha, and she's amazing. And I kept going in I'm talking about a different trauma, kept going in the same pattern loop of that trauma response. And she set me aside. She goes, Madiha, you do know that the trauma has actually left your body. It's your patterns that's repeating itself. And that's when I thought, oh my God, I'm walking around and thinking I'm getting triggered. It's my trauma, but it's not. It's actually my default, what I believe. Like when you were talking about the affirmations.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
It is.
We're actually already enough. And I feel like as well, when I have any occurrence that's happened in my life, and I do the why question, it's like, okay, but why do I feel like that? Okay, but why? And I get down to the fact that I don't feel enough again. And it's like, how are we still at that same old narrative from like 8 years ago, whatever it is, 6 years ago. But, you know, it happens. And that's why now I'm really focused on empowering women, or at least holding the space, you know, to empower women to feel differently about themselves, and to maybe be a little bit of a badass or a rebel, because I've found much healing in that recently, you know, embodiment dance, and, you know, self-expression in front of the mirror, you know, feeling myself. And I even dress a little bit differently now, more expressive. And I feel like when you give yourself that permission to show up in your fullest expression authentically and be a little bit more daring, then it can sometimes trickle into other areas of your life, and you can start showing up for yourself. It's like, I'm wearing this to impress myself for me, because as soon as I express myself to feel validated by an external person, then that's where the people pleasing comes in. So it's like, it's all for me.
Yeah, 100% agree. And what you're doing now is you're empowering others that will help you through your healing as well. If there's any more left, that will be that next step and next upgrade, next stage for you to, like you said, peeling all those layers. It's like an onion.
It's like an onion that never ends. The healing journey never ends. You're just crying through the whole process, but like, it's good. I actually really enjoy crying now. I used to really hide from my emotions when I was in that state of wanting to keep everything together and people please. And since I started to do the shadow work, really raw some of the experiences that I've had, and I started to cry, I really realized that every release is really good. It's just the shedding of what doesn't serve us anymore, so we can welcome in fresh. Right, or understand it from a different perspective at least. And I spent quite a lot of time out in nature doing that. I feel that whenever I go out in nature and I put my bare feet on the earth, it's like, okay, now I can go in. Now I'm just gonna give it all to the earth and just have it. I don't want it anymore. Done. Beautiful. Because I think emotions is really it's we have an emotional guidance system, and so many of us ignore it. And it's great that you're able to let them out, because, you know, at the end of the day, I keep explaining this in my talks. It's like you have this trash can of rotten tomatoes, and these emotions keep going, and these traumas keep going, and it gets filled. It's like, it stinks, right? You got to take it out, right? Yeah. So you're purging those emotions out, and you feel so much better. Okay, you briefly mentioned about your Kundalini awakening, right? Tell me about that. And also we also want to talk about your death and rebirth. Did that come with the Kundalini awakening? Yeah. So, you know, when you start talking about things, then little things that have been suppressed come up, and I'm like, oh, that is actually really important to the whole narrative, but I'll come back to that. So Kundalini awakening happened very recently. And I decided that I wanted to spend some time becoming nobody. And I wanted to just go into the abyss and shut off from the world. And I think it was a response to an incident that happened. I was at a retreat and someone stole my bag and it had all my life belongings in it. This wasn't recently, it was maybe like 6 months ago. I had all my belongings in it. So my phone, my keys to my house, like all my money that I had, like everything in my life was gone overnight. And I was like, wow, I literally have nothing to my name and I don't know what I'm going to do. So I rang my friend and I said, look, can I sleep on your couch? And you take me in and I can figure this out. And also very aware of the patterns that may occur because he was a male and me being in the same house as a male brings up my trauma. But because I didn't have an option, I had to just take it, right? And what I did was I got very quiet for 10 days whilst I received my new card and got a little bit of money from a client, and I just had to sit and meditate for 10 days. I was like just in that process for 10 days and it was voluntary. I could have asked for handouts, from other people, which generally, you would do in that scenario. But I was like, look, I need to figure out how I can heal. And it was healing in itself, living in the same building as this guy who showed me unconditional love as a friend. And I healed a lot of my male trauma from that too. So I do put myself through these rather crazy but beautiful self-experiments where I'm peeling back more layers of myself. And now I feel like actually living with a man could be a reality for me. Maybe not in a traditional sense, because I have associated, I want to correct that narrative, love with pain. But that was one of my ego death moments, I would definitely say, because to exist in the material world without any technological, existence, like, being online without any monetary, without anything is very challenging. Do it in Bali jungle, do it in Costa Rica, do it anywhere. It's probably quite normal. I could, it's a Vipassana, right? It's a 10-day Vipassana is what I did, but I did it in the city. So yeah, I just feel like the more I put myself through these somewhat what appears stressful situations, the more I build up a tolerance of stress in my body. And I become, I don't want to say imperforable to pain because I don't think that exists, but my pain threshold's pretty high at this point, and I feel like I've maybe become a bit of an adrenaline junkie. I think potentially like to putting myself into the unknown and peeling back the layers. I kind of enjoy it now because I just know on the other side of that fear is freedom every time.
Yeah.
So yeah. When I was traveling Italy, I actually had a little bit of an adventure and I went from Tuscany all the way around to Rimini and then all the way back down to the heel of the boot in real southern Italy. And I really wanted to mention this story because I think it's been embedded in my subconscious. It's like the main nugget. It's the main thing that my brain's trying to keep me safe from remembering. And actually when I unpack and I start talking about all of this stuff, it's like, okay, we've got a bit more space now to be seen. So I would like to talk about it because it's really relevant to the work that I'm doing now and actually what I want to do in the future. So I, at this stage, still a little bit fragile, got a volunteering gig down south at a bar and grill. And my job was to hand out flyers to passers-by in this tiny little village, which was actually a village for holiday makers in Italy. Language barrier, very apparent. I think at that stage, I just wanted to spend the remainder of my time just having a good time before I went home. And yeah, it wasn't the wholesome experience that I thought it was going to be. And the man that was working, who was the boss there, even talking about it, because it's the first time I've shared it, I'm like, oh. The guy that was the boss there, he, was very charming, but he was like an older man. Not my type, you know, I didn't have those feelings towards him. That wasn't the you know, I didn't feel a certain way towards him, basically. And I remember one evening I was, after work, sat at the bar, and I kind of got a bit of a weird vibe. You know, I was a single, solo female traveller, and I came to this bar and I was volunteering, and it actually seemed okay, generally. Like, the guy was quite nice and blah, 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 but I just got a bit of a stranger vibe that night. There was a guy that was sat at the bar who kept staring at me, and I just thought, you know, fine. I just feel that people, if they look, they look. But it just made me feel a little uncomfortable. And I think at the time I felt quite paranoid anyway, you know, because I was traveling alone. And I just remember getting the invitation to do some shots. And at the time I did still want to drink, right? And we got offered these shots, me and the other two girls that were working there. One was from like the Netherlands, I think, a little bit younger than me. And but we, you know, she was quite supportive. And then somebody else, I can't remember who. Like, my memory's coming back now. I'm like, ugh. Anyway, I think I did 2 shots of tequila, which, as an Amy Proudfoot measure, definitely doesn't equate to blackout, right? And I just remember just vaguely walking through a door, being very out of it. And then the next minute, I wake up and I'm naked in bed with this guy. And I'm like really confused because I don't remember it. And I'm like, shame kicks in because I thought, wow, you silly girl for getting so drunk. And how has this happened? You know, I don't understand why I'm here. And I kind of just wanted to leave, and, you know, there were advances, but I just put my clothes on and kind of left. And I felt so confused, and because I'd been drinking and I still had this anxiety in the body, you know, that I was healing from, very on edge, and I'd not really slept, and I just wanted to be alone and to get away from there, and I was trying to figure out what to do. So I went to the beach and I lay there and I just thought, I need to leave. So I need to leave because I don't know what to do right now. And then the next minute, the guy comes onto the beach and he puts his arm around me like he was claiming me. And I was like, wow, I don't know what to do now, because I feel like I can't say no. I feel like my voice is blocked. So I just let it happen. And the next day I was just like, okay, this is my life now. I'm just going to have to be his, because I don't know how to say no. I don't know how to, you know, stand up for myself. So yeah, I just let it happen. And I feel like he told his family that you know, something was happening, because his family were also working at this bar and grill, and they were kind of giving me glances and trying to work me out as well. And I felt really paranoid. And he also was very controlling, this man. And he said, I saw you I saw you flirting with men, I saw you this, I saw you that, and you know, and I just was like, I'm sorry, you know, I just had this real timidness about me, and I just, if I could really do something at that moment as the person I am now, I would drag her out there and be like, girl, come on, just go, like get on the bus and leave. But I remember the second night that I was there, and I just remember thinking, okay, I'm gonna go quickly to my bedroom and just shut the door. And I just remember going downstairs and going in my room, and he said, where do you think you're going? I was like, I'm going to my room. He's like, no, you're not. You're not. And he basically just took me in a room. I just had to pretend like I wanted to, because I didn't know what else to do. And I just feel like this happens a lot, you know, in our society, with anyone. You know, they may be in a situation that they find themselves in, they don't want to be in, you know, sexually. And you go really into fun. Like, I can't explain it in any other way, that you just literally surrender, and it's almost like you're frozen. And you're just kind of going along with whatever's happening, because it feels too overwhelming to do anything else. And then the next day, because I couldn't go through with it anymore, was like, I need to escape. I need to escape. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, because I'm in this tiny little remote village, but I need to get out of here quick. And I came up with this master plan. And I was like, right, I'm going to pretend that I am sick, and also that I've lost my passport, and I need to get my passport quickly, but then I'm coming back, because I don't feel like he'll let me leave. He seems quite controlling. So I'm going to leave my stuff here so it looks like I'm coming back, but actually I'm not. I'm just going to go to the nearest little village, and I'm going to just hide there, because that's I want to try and save my money, you know, and I also had this intention that I was going to go and visit the village that my nana, my grandmother, before she passed, I promised her that I'd go and visit this village that she grew up in, which was nearby. That was my intention of the trip. So I wanted to go there, but I told him I was going to Rome, right? Because Rome was where you got your passport done and stamped, and then you came back. It's like a same day thing. So anyway, I was like, right, I'll get him to give me a lift to the station, because I was so remote, and I'll just wave him off, and I'll go to this nearest village, do what I set out to do, and then I'll just stay there for a bit, and I'll go home, and I'll find, you know, some support there. Anyway, I got to the station, and he got out of the car. I said, what are you doing? He's like, I want to wave you off at the station. It's like, fuck. You know, like, I'm not going to Rome, and I don't really want to buy a ticket to Rome. I don't want to go to Rome. But so I was like, right, think on the spot. I'm going to just pretend that I'm sick. So I went to the toilet, and I locked myself in the toilet. I said, I'm sick. I just want you to leave. I was like, I'm going to be okay. Because I don't know if you've experienced this yourself, but when you're experiencing anxiety in the body, your brain goes into catastrophe mode, and you're just thinking of any way that you can get out of the situation. It seems so crazy that I was pretending to throw up, but I didn't know what else to do. Anyway, he bought my ticket to Rome, and I reimbursed him for it. And I was thinking to myself, well, I'm going to Rome, basically. And I don't know, but it's better than being here. And he like kissed me, got on the bus, and I just sat there completely soulless. I felt like something had been taken, like my soul had been taken from me. I had no battery on my phone. I had no food. I had no water. And I was on an 8-hour journey to Rome. And I just sat in silence the whole time, just broken. And no one spoke English. And it stopped off at Naples. I think we were like almost there, basically. And I was like, I'm getting off. I'm not going Rome. So I got my backpack. It was at the dead of night. And Naples at night can be a little bit edgy for women. And, well, not women, but in general, you wouldn't go out alone at night in Naples because it can be, I'm sure it's fine, but like the state that I was in, I just felt really disorientated. And I just got my backpack and I just walked. I didn't know where I was walking to, but I just carried on walking and walking and walking. And I came across a hostel just by magic. I feel like I was getting watched down on by my guides or my angels or whatever it was. And I got to this hostel. I went to the bar and I said, can I have a bottle of white wine, please? And I necked the whole thing because I didn't know how to deal with what happened. And then I sat down and there were two guys next to me from Hobart and they were having a discussion. I said, I'm sorry, can I just talk to you both? I just need to talk to someone. And I told them what happened and they were like, that is crazy. And I said, I don't know what to do. I've got no money because I just spent it all on a ticket. I don't know what to do, basically. I don't know what to do. And this guy said, well, I've just left this luxury 5-star hostel in Positano in this beautiful location in Italy. It's like a millionaire's playground, Positano. It's just full of flowers and like yachts and like it's very, very picturesque. He's like, there's literally a position there. I reckon if you called the guy, you could get a job. And literally within a day, I was in Positano and I was in a safe space. Obviously still processing internally. I didn't know what was going on, but I felt so joyful. And that for me is the definition of like just pure blind belief that everything will work out. I had no plan. I had no idea what was going to happen. I was hurting a lot, but yeah, I was definitely getting guided. And sometimes I feel life can sometimes feel like everything is crumbling around us, and just having that little bit of faith, you know, even when it feels very catastrophic, can make all the difference. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it takes a lot of vulnerability and courage. Thank you. And you're right. The universe did have your back. The universe given you this opportunity. The blind faith is something that we don't talk about, right? And it's just I'm speechless. I'm just speechless right now. But this is something that you want to do, right, to help women. This is where you're heading. Do you think this is where you're heading?
Yeah, because I mean, for a while, I felt a lot of body shame. I didn't want to have sexual contact with anyone, and even to this day, I still don't. I'm celibate, and I just feel like my body is very sacred. And during this time, I just want to inject all the love into me, and that's the way it is right now. But my future plans is to, you know, invite other women to explore these modalities of healing through dance. Because through dance, I actually then started to love my body again, to feel connected to my body, which I hadn't felt in such a long time. Was the most blissful feeling, to feel like a woman as opposed to an object, to feel whole as opposed to broken, to feel just like to shed away the shame and the blame and whatever else is there through the dance. Is being the most enriching experience for me. And I just want to invite other women to maybe explore it. It might feel a little weird, you know, to kind of move your body without any set choreography. But when we kind of just let our bodies move to the music, we, I don't know, might start to feel something, and emotion might come up, and that's okay, because we're in a container with other women. You know, we all hold and support each other. You know, you can let that go, and there's no judgment, there's only love. So that's why I want to delve into this work. And the offering that I have that's coming up is very much about the fiercer side of I guess women empowerment and showing up and being tough and feeling like you can set your boundaries. It's called Wild Woman. And in the space we emote, we express. And I also share a little bit of my story and help women, you know, recognize their story and also have the opportunity to rewrite it through the dance and through the space, you know, without letting their stories own them, knowing that it's okay and it's not your fault. And actually you are you're a powerful woman. You know, you're on this earth to create great things and to live a life by soul design. You know, it's your fucking birthright.
Yeah.
So, you know, own it.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that you've transformed whatever you've been through into channeling, into helping other women as well who are going through the same thing. And I think sometimes there's a level of awareness you get to where you think that everything that you've been through, trauma, whatever you've been through is there. It needs to be there so you can help or be at service to other people.
Yeah.
And that certain things, if you can get to that awareness, it's really powerful. It's really empowering that, okay, I need you to go through that in order for me to make that difference here.
100%, yeah. I always feel like as well, I mean, this is maybe a little bit of a general thing to say, but whenever anything's happened to me, I'm like, the universe wouldn't throw anything at me that I couldn't handle. I mean, I dealt with it. It was very, very challenging. But I feel like with every, you know, perceived setback or challenge that I've faced, there's always been a beautiful outcome depending on my mindset, you know, and how I process that. And, you know, it could take a week, it can take months or years, but I feel like the level of understanding increases the more I raise my consciousness and my capacity to feel, for sure. Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it. Are you ready for these rapid fire questions I have for you?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Fast. Right, okay. What is your definition of universe, life, God?
I feel like we are our own universe. I feel like the word universe or God, it's like the I am, you know, and because we create our own reality, then surely we're the universe. We have a universe inside us. And, you know, maybe whatever good we put out in the world, I guess it's maybe for a higher power. But that higher power always is within us as well. So maybe that gives a bit of an analogy of what I feel the universe or God is.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What do you think happens when you die?
I feel like we have many... I feel like when we finally pass, our souls then can be incarnated and then, you know, relived through another body, through another vessel. And maybe any karmic debt that you haven't yet dealt with can have an opportunity to be healed in another life. That's my interpretation.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's the lesson that took you the longest to learn?
People love you, and that's okay. They're not out to get you. They're not out to get you. Love is accessible to you, and you deserve it. Even though your narrative may be different or seem different, actually, you don't need to run from the love. It's there. Accept it. Feel it. And if you feel like you can, give it back. And actually, through living more consciously and being involved in conscious communities, I feel like it's so much more natural for me to do that. So yeah, bit of a long-winded answer, but you get it.
Beautiful. It's hard for us to receive sometimes. I'm fully in present moment when
I'm in the present moment, when I'm shaking my thing.
When
I'm really moving my body, and I'm like, and I've got my eyes closed, and there's nothing that exists in that moment apart from the joy that is being experienced within the body. Like when I'm in that moment, when I've got the music and just my body, I let my body lead, and it's just the bliss state. That's presence for me.
Beautiful. Love it. The world needs more of what?
Heart.
Yes.
Heart. When we lead from the head, I feel like it's definitely, I feel like structures are required for order, right? And I love the glass analogy for this. You know, you can have a glass of water, and you got the flow of the water in the glass, and then the glass is the structure. But without the glass, the water just pours everywhere. And I've definitely experienced a lot of flow and not a lot else within my life, and everything's just kind of fallen to pieces. But I feel like there's a lot of heart with flow. You know, when I lead from my heart, I'm much more in flow and in tune with the laws of the universe. So yeah, a lot more heart, knowing that heart's okay with the structure. I think everything doesn't need to be logical and to make sense, and to have a scientific explanation behind it in order for it to make sense. Sometimes things just make sense, and if it makes sense to you, then great. Like I feel like everyone has their own individual ideas of what life is, and that's okay, right? Because if it makes you happy, then do more of that, as long as it's not hurting anyone.
Beautiful. I love it. If there is one message you would like to share with somebody who's going through spiritual awakening, adversity, hard times, and can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, what would that message be?
I feel like when we experience something that isn't of the norm, it's easy to jump to conclusions as to what's going on, or to have certain perceptions of ourselves, like, oh, we're weird, or, you know, this isn't normal, or, you know, why am I doing this, and overanalyze ourselves. But I feel like if we just lean into it and almost, you know, I don't know, like just observe, like, how is this playing out for me? You know, is it actually enhancing any of my qualities? And are there other people who are experiencing similar things that I can reach out to? I mean, once I started to find other people that had been through spiritual awakenings, I realized it was a gift. So I think that's the answer to the question. I was just trying to get to it. Just seeking out other people who find resonance in what you're experiencing actually makes you realize, oh my gosh, this is the magic life. And I now, through the peeling back of so many layers of all the adversity I've experienced, I've literally split in two and come back together so many times, have now developed almost clairvoyancy to the point where I'm predicting life before it happens. And it will play out in either visions that I have, and it's usually, you know, things that are going to happen the next day, or certain life scenarios that are about to happen that are very significant within my life that I need to pay attention to, but this is my reality, you know, and I feel that when you get rid of some of the senses, the other senses have to kick into play in order to compensate for that lack of sight that you have. And I can't remember, there's actually a tribe, or they might derive in South America, and they place their children in caves until they're 12 to heighten their psychic abilities. And these children, they come out and they can actually predict the future. And yeah, they have all these kinds of magical gifts. So I feel like when my voice got taken away, and I was impaired in some way through adversity, that my psychic abilities then enhanced somewhat. Yeah, a lot of Kundalini as well. A lot of Kundalini and Shakti dancing definitely did that. But just being in tune with my intuition and following it at every stage of my life, and keeping this part of my body clean, you know, being a clear channel, and having a daily practice. Mm-hmm. I can't even remember what the question was, actually. But
it's fine.
Basically, I've enhanced my psychic abilities through these methods. There we go.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I like the relate. I can relate to the splitting, because I'm currently experiencing that. It comes back and it keeps coming and keeps coming. But I'm experiencing that split. But I'll tell you about it off air.
Yeah,
so how can people contact you?
So you can contact me on my Instagram, which is @amyproudfoot_. Or if you are a woman who is looking for a safe space to heal and dance and connect with other like-minded women and just to feel supported, Wild Woman is coming. It is coming. Fierce, unapologetically, raw. It's happening. So I'm
Beautiful.
excited.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God, Amy, thank you. Thank you for, oh my God, I don't know what to say. This interview has been amazing. Yes. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing. And I'm sure it's going to help, and like anybody who's going through adversity right now or something similar to you. So many of our listeners might relate to it. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us.
For receiving.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of our award-winning podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. You can follow us on Instagram, Madiha Sosan 1, and YouTube, Madiha Sosan, for more content. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your family and friends, and let us know your thoughts on social media. A special thanks to our sponsors, the Resonance Center, for making it possible to use this beautiful space, and Razia's Bonton Salon for my amazing shiny hair and makeup. You can find this and other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Thank you once again for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.